But I can tell you every single one of my clients that I work with who have had gastric bypass or tons of weight loss from Ozempic or whatever it is, they still have body issues because weight wasn't the issue. It was something deep down that was missed or a need that hasn't been met. And you meet that through a root cause approach. And so the way I'm seeing Ozempic marketed a lot is like it quiets the food noise. I think that if you are someone that truly has specific health problems, then work with someone who has your best interest in mind to help you with that.
Hello, and welcome to my series where voices are heard. Today I'm here with Sarah, who is going to share with us her expertise about weight loss, body image, and Ozempic.
Hi, Sarah.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. I just have to say, as we were chatting off camera, I knew based on, I think, some video footage I saw of you that you work with clients and have had your own experience with some people regarding body image. And then I saw that you mentioned Ozempic ever so slightly, and I thought, oh, I've got to talk to Sarah. But then I found out that you are a wealth of information. I will just briefly share my story with you. In January of 2021, my doctor ordered a routine blood draw. It was actually to check my liver function for an antidepressant that I take. And I was alarmed to find out I was pre-diabetic. So I decided to be proactive and take the bull by the horns, and I immediately scheduled a Zoom doctor's appointment with my doctor and said, I want to turn this around. And he was completely on board, Sarah. He referred me to a dietitian nutritionist at Swedish in the Seattle area. And I started working with Katie. I made really good progress. I think I lost about 10 pounds in the first 6 months, 10 to 15 pounds, yes. And so about 6 to 8 months in, my doctor was still cheering me on, supporting me that I could do this naturally and turn it around. But about a year in, his tune had changed dramatically. And all of a sudden, he was promoting Ozempic. And he himself was taking it. So he had drunk the Kool-Aid. And I said, hell no, I won't take it.
Good for you.
And when I had my physical not that long ago, a few months ago, he mentioned again. And I'm like, no, still no.
Yeah. That's tough. It's tough. I think we're seeing this like so much more often than not, really. I can't tell you like how many people like in my close circle and my family that have done the same thing. I think they've seen this like huge, honestly, in my eyes, it's like a marketing scheme, right? And why? It's because there's money behind it, right? We know like the diet industry is like the last time I looked, it was like a $1.8 billion industry. I'm sure that number has grown exponentially, but it's the same thing with Ozempic, though. Now we're getting this quick fix, and everybody that we know is doing it. And unfortunately, it's this very scary thing. Not enough research done on like the weight loss side of it. And I understand Ozempic has been around for a really long time in the terms of treating diabetes, right? But not in the terms of weight loss. So, yeah, really proud of you for like standing in your truth of like, okay, I know that this is not okay for me and deciding you're going to go a different way.
Thank you, Sarah. You know, Sarah, the first thing I'd like to talk about is you mentioned that you have clients that are on Ozempic. So if you can maybe tell us first what you do and how you work with your clients, and then some of their experiences.
Absolutely. So I do a lot of different things. So I'm a somatic coach, subconscious coach. I'm an Ayurveda practitioner, clinical hypnotherapist, Reiki master, tons of different modalities that I'm certified in, and then also a board certified holistic wellness coach. So basically, all in all, what I do is I help mostly women work with their mind and their body. So I help their physical health and I help their mental health. I help them move through stuck patterns, limiting beliefs, self-love, body image, confidence. And then I kind of tie it all up in a cute little bow and, help with like the wellness side of it as well. I am also a nurse. So I didn't know if
I did not know that.
Yeah. So I am an LPN. I'm not an RN, but so I can order a lot of lab work for my clients and stuff like that and kind of understand what they have going on. And I also help women advocate for themselves. I work with a lot of women that have chronic illness. So I kind of teach them and show them like what to ask for, how to kind of like stand up for themselves and advocate for themselves when it comes to their journey of health. So in terms of my clients, I've had a lot of clients that have done like bariatric, weight loss, gastric bypass, bands, all that kind of stuff. And then I've had some clients that have been on Ozempic and they're coming off of it now. Thank goddess. But I'm seeing a lot of people kind of come to me, a lot of clients come to me asking me questions about Ozempic. And the biggest thing that we kind of talk about, they're always like, okay, but I have food noise. And that's one of the big marketing things.
What is food noise?
Yeah. So a lot of times we see this in an eating disorder. And it's basically like always thinking about food. Like, what is my next meal going to be? What am I going to eat? What am I going to indulge in? And the way people describe this is like that doesn't shut off. And so the way I'm seeing Ozempic marketed a lot is like it quiets the food noise. My biggest problem with that is that the food noise is from something. So you're taking Ozempic and you're shutting that food noise down. What happens when you come off of Ozempic?
It goes back.
It comes right back.
I wanted to ask you, is food noise psychological?
I think it can be a couple things. So I think a lot of it is psychological. I think a lot of it can also be from like not being taught like how to eat for your body. We are seeing like a lot of people, I think mostly, and I could be wrong, but mostly like a lot of my age group, my generation, when we grew up, a lot of us grew up maybe like middle class poor. We ate a lot of things that were like packaged, right? So like we survived on mac and cheese and ramen and TV dinners and kid cuisine and McDonald's, right?
I'd like to comment on that because I think it's so prevalent in this country, even more so now with the amount of young people who are diabetic.
Right.
My mother is European, and so she made everything from scratch. Like she never used a cake mix. I mean, she made every single meal from scratch.
Sure.
So I grew up with eating real food.
Right.
I mean, we had soda in the house on occasion. It was a treat. And we go out, when we go to dinner, we go for pizza sometimes. I was allowed to have a Coke.
Right.
With the pizza. If we went to a movie, I could have a Coke. And like when I'd go on a field trip in school.
Yeah.
Like I was allowed to go to my mom would take me to the grocery store. I was allowed to buy a soda.
Pick something special, right?
I always bought Hostess, those donuts.
Yes,
I don't know what you call them.
Yeah, like the little like ho-hos or something.
Yes, the cream-filled ones.
Oh, yeah.
So that was like maybe once a year.
Sure.
Maybe twice a year at the most when there would be a school field trip. Right. And I was allowed to get like my little bag of Doritos.
Right, absolutely.
So it's not that, we never ate junk food.
Right.
But it was very far and few between. I mean, it was very rare actually.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that wasn't the experience for a lot of my peers.
Right. And I think we kind of like, when this started happening, what we were seeing was that before moms were like the stay-at-home moms, right? Then we started moving into the generations of like both parents had to be working.
Right.
So what was easiest to get in a meal, right? And so while I absolutely understand like where my mom had come from, what she was going through, and I can have empathy and compassion for that.
Sure.
I also understand the impact that it probably had on me and my nutrition, and then dealing with the chronic illness that I deal with, it's easy to kind of see where things have there were things that were missed, right?
Right.
In my nutrition.
Right. And you bring up another good point, Sarah, because we were fortunate, my brother and I, our mother was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were lucky. I mean, she had the time to prepare those meals.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I think like a lot of people from my generation, a lot of my clients that I'm dealing with now, they kind of have a lot of the same experiences. They never knew how to eat, right? And so I think when we're talking about and this is kind of like my holistic viewpoint, a little bit of an opinion. When we're talking about a lot of these pre-packaged foods, you're dealing with a lot of ingredients, right, that create a lot of chaos in the body, inflammation. We do know that for sure, but also this convenience and this instant satisfaction, right?
Right. So we're trained for instant gratification.
Exactly.
We don't
and
know
the society we live in also. Like, think of Amazon Prime.
Absolutely.
You can order something, it comes in like 2 days,
Oh, no,
right?
we are so spoiled. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense why Ozempic's taken off, right? We have that instant gratification. And then also the food noise piece is that we've never been taught how to eat for our bodies. And when you ask a question about psychological too, I'm thinking, like with some of my clients, one of the things that they kind of go through is that it's comfort, right? And so there's some sort of trauma that probably goes unresolved in the body. And it seeks out that comfort. And they're getting that comfort from something that's reliable, right? Food is always there.
Yes.
It's always convenient.
Completely.
And it doesn't let them down.
No, well, you just made me think of something. I want to share something with you
Absolutely.
that is actually kind of a secret that I haven't really shared with many people. So I have issues with sleep.
Okay.
And for the past year or so, I don't know how long it's been, I've taken CBD gummies at night for sleep.
Yeah.
But the problem is, Sarah, they give me the munchies.
Yes.
So what I have taken on a really bad habit of snacking really late at night. And I've never ever in my life have done this before, and I'm a little bit ashamed of it, but I decided to do something about it. So my ARNP at Swedish that I mentioned, I had a Zoom with her, and she's put me on a medication, a very it's not a sleeping pill, but it's I'm taking hydroxyzine for sleep, and it's really helping. I'm getting really deep REM sleep.
Good.
It's for the first time in forever.
Oh, good.
I was up at 7 this morning. Like, I can't tell you the last time I've been up before.
You have energy again.
Yeah, before 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So, but I realized something last night because I snacked last night, and I thought, you know what? It's the habit. It's become an ingrained habit.
Absolutely.
So I may have to come see you and do some hypnosis.
Absolutely. Yeah, hypnosis is really great for those type of things. For sure.
My brother actually quit smoking using hypnosis.
Oh, that's amazing. I have a couple of clients that actually I've done smoking cessation for them. Probably like total side note, but one of my greatest accomplishments was I had a gal come to me. She was older and she was in a nursing home. She was on oxygen and she was still smoking.
Really?
And she wanted to stop, and she did. We did hypnosis on her. It worked. She listens to the recording, and she's completely stopped. And so now she has like an extra $200
right
that she gets to spend on her grandkids.
Good for her, because cigarettes are expensive.
They are so expensive, and I just that. Oh, my heart! That makes my absolute heart burst.
So Sarah, back to Ozempic for a minute. If there's something you could tell our audience about Ozempic, what would you like them to know?
That's a tough one. I would say asking yourself why. What is it that you are looking to get off of Ozempic, right? So if it's the weight loss, okay, what is weight loss going to do for you? And we had this conversation before too, but what I noticed the big thing is people will be like, I want to lose weight. I've tried everything. And so then they turn to Ozempic, but why are they wanting to lose weight, right? And a lot of times people will be like, I just want my energy back. I want my endurance. I want my flexibility. I want to feel better about my body. I want to look good in my clothes again. Okay, none of these things equal weight loss. Weight loss does not give you endurance. There are plenty of people that have lost weight and they still don't have any energy. They're still not flexible, right? So these are your goals. And now if you reach these goals and you've lost weight as well, that's great. But these things don't equal weight loss, right? So and I think the biggest thing too is people have this automatic assumption that when they lose weight, they're automatically going to feel better about their body. But I can tell you, every single one of my clients that I work with who have had gastric bypass or tons of weight loss from Ozempic or whatever it is, they still have body issues because weight wasn't the issue. It was something deep down that was missed or a need that hasn't been met. And you meet that through a root cause approach. So same thing with Ozempic for like food noise, right? When we address the food noise, it goes away. Ozempic is just like that little Band-Aid, that quick fix, and it'll go away for a little bit, but the minute you take that away, it comes right back up again, right? And the weight's going to come right back up. And that is actually the true issue, is yo-yo dieting and weight fluctuation. That's actually so much more dangerous than being obese, right?
Interesting, because I was a yo-yo dieter like throughout my 30s.
Yes.
Sarah, thank you for that information.
Yeah.
Something I'd like to talk about next is what are doctors doing? What are they not doing? And let's talk about that dirty word, kickbacks.
Yes. Okay. So I think a lot of people probably have heard this by now, is that doctors are getting a payout for the Ozempic. And I can tell you, just from my experience of working as a nurse, that this is actually a true thing that can happen. So we have a lot of like med reps that come in and they are promoting so like say in pediatrics, they would promote their formula, like push this formula to your patients and this is what you're going to get from it. They will wine and dine you. They took all of us nurses out to like the fanciest dinners ever. We'd get all this swag, gift bags, and then your providers, the more that they push it, they get money from it, right? And so the same thing is happening with Ozempic, hands down. Definitely, we know this, right? And then I've talked to a couple physicians, and there are actually Facebook groups out there of physicians right now that are admitting like they will push Ozempic so quick because of the kickbacks. Like it's easy money for them.
Wow.
Easy money for them. And then because some of them can't get their hands on the Ozempic, they are working with compounding pharmacies. They're compounding the active ingredient in it, and then they're diluting it with things like B12.
Really? Now, Sarah, do you know anything about the generic Ozempic or the Ozempic? I read recently that Ozempic in pill form was coming out.
Yeah, so it's all the same in terms of like the active ingredient in it. It is a GLP-1, I think the word is like antagonist for it. So I would say it's going to be interesting to see the pill form come out, but at the base of it, like you hear Ozempic, I don't know if you heard of Wegovy, semaglutide, like it's all the same, right? And now we're seeing a lot of like MLMs push a natural form of Ozempic.
What's an MLM?
Multi-level marketing.
Oh,
so like
really?
almost like pyramid schemes. Yes.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding. It's all over my Facebook. It's a lot of like a natural form of Ozempic, and it's just another way to sell you a product in the diet industry. Okay. But I assume that they're going to try to find ways to kind of cut this into like a pill form. I find that to be very interesting because I've never. I bet you they're probably saying it's like Ozempic, but it's not the actual active ingredient that's in Ozempic. They're probably going to say, it'll be like a mix of something with like B12 or something like that.
Sarah, I have a question for you. I think I started asking you this question before, and because of my ADHD, I just went into
we'll go all
I went into another direction. Holes. So my question is, I saw an interview on YouTube with a female naturopath. She claims that Ozempic is not the problem, but it's the dosage. She claims that the amount of Ozempic that's in the I don't know what you call it, the vial with the needle, that the dosage is way too high for the average person.
Yeah. So there's some new literature coming out talking about microdosing.
Yes.
Semaglutide, which is the active ingredient in Ozempic. I have not seen enough of that to be like, oh yeah, you should get on board with that. I think that if you are someone that truly has specific health problems, then work with someone who has your best interest in mind to help you with that. Help you find the right thing, help you go through your lab work, help you go through your diet and how you eat and how you move your body and all the other health promoting activities that you do. Have someone go in that with a fine-tooth comb and figure out, okay, what's really going on. And if you're doing all the things right and you don't need to tweak anything and everything's perfect in your lab work, which I think is probably never going to happen. I mean, there's fluctuations always, right? Then maybe consider a microdose of semaglutide. But I found I was following this dietitian and she started microdosing it. And one of the things that she talked about was, oh, this is helping my food noise. And I just thought that was so irresponsible of a dietitian. Now, the way she's eating is a little bit better. She's able to get more protein in. She's able to eat very structured meals, which I think is one of the things that we miss completely as a society, talking about the true foundation of our meals. So hopefully that kind of answers your question a little
does.
bit.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's probably the microdosing of it, and that's becoming a little bit more popular. I would need to see like way more research before I would even remotely be like, oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
right?
sure. Thank you. And the other thing you and I were talking about before off camera is that if you could tell us about your clients that have been Ozempic, what happens to them physically? What has happened to them physically?
Gosh, so many different things. One client, her anxiety went through the roof on it. She just became beyond anxious. Another client suffered from gastroparesis, so like almost like a frozen stomach.
Your paralyzed stomach.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is a very common side effect.
It is a very common side effect. Also, absolutely no appetite with nausea. And this is where I have such a hard time with Ozempic because a lot of women that I work with, they, almost all of them are under eating. They are not overeating. They are under eating.
You mean before they go on it?
Before they go on it.
Oh.
Their providers are not asking them what it is their diet looks like. And if they would have raised up some of the food that they were eating, a little bit more calories, their metabolism would have ramped up.
Sped up, and then they would have been burning.
So they are technically in starvation mode, but what happens is, like, why they're not losing weight is because inflammation is at an all-time high. So their body is holding on to a lot of things, and that's what people get confused about as well, is that they see the way that they look, and they're like, oh, I'm fat, versus, okay, I'm inflamed. I'm really inflamed right now.
Sarah, can you talk a bit more about inflammation?
Yeah.
And what it means and what it looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So inflammation can look like a lot of things. It's holding on to water and lymph, and it's just a sign that your body's not working correctly. So a lot of times what I see is like people who are, again, eating like more processed packaged food, and I want to make it very clear. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I understand the convenience and the need, but I think sometimes just a few switches can kind of help with that. Not drinking enough water, so your body's like holding on to everything. Not having enough nutrition, period, and like what the food that you're eating can cause inflammation. And then a lot of like chronic inflammatory diseases or chronic illness that kind of goes unaddressed can create a lot of inflammation in the body. So inflammation can look like sore joints. It can look like a lot of puffiness in the face. So like you can kind of see my face. I have a lot of inflammation. I have a chronic inflammatory disease.
Okay.
So I constantly have to be very proactive on what it is that I eat, drink, move, the whole 9 yards. And it can cause gut issues. It can cause mental health issues. It can cause so many different things. Does that kind of answer your...
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
yeah, I can
you.
go on for it forever, but yeah.
Yeah, wow. So any parting thoughts, Sarah, on what you would like our viewers to know just about body image, Ozempic, anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just making sure that before you decide that, like, hey, I'm going to go on Ozempic, making sure that you have, like, a team of people that actually care about you is one of the biggest things. And then kind of asking yourself, you know, like, how is it that I feel about my body, right? And kind of getting down to the root cause of, like, why that is, right? There's so many different layers of, like, so many different, one of my clients, and, like, even people I know, they're holding on to something that someone in 7th grade said to them. And they didn't even realize like how much that weighed heavy on them. And once you address that, some of that can kind of release, right? So that way you can kind of work on those things. So instead of considering weight loss or even Ozempic, consider something more of like health promoting activities that would make you feel good in your body.
Right.
And then the body image can kind of come along with that
right.
as well.
And like you said, dealing with trauma and things like that.
Absolutely. When we have trauma in the body, it absolutely creates disease. At some point, you're going to see it manifest in heart issues. Someone who's like holding on to anger, right? That's what you see a lot of. You'll start to see like hypertension and things like that, or heart disease, heart attacks. Just making sure that you're really like addressing what it is that is at the root of that. And I think that that really does look like a very trauma-informed approach, and really getting down to like the nitty-gritty. So yeah.
So it's really the mind-body connection. And you know, I have to say this because I'm a lot older than you, and I'm probably old enough to be your mother, that I love that trauma is being talked about in our society as much as it is. Because when I was a kid, like, or a young person, it wasn't even on the radar.
I think a lot of people don't realize how common and prevalent trauma is. I have a lot of friends that are like, I've never had trauma. And I'm like, have you ever stubbed your toe on a table? Yeah, that's trauma. The body is like, ow, that hurts. And even though it doesn't seem like that's a big deal, it's still trauma. Now, do I think that you need to have, you know, coaching over that? No, but we all experience trauma, even if we don't even realize it. Living in the world that we live in right now, the society that we live in right now, that alone is enough trauma that you need help. Absolutely. And I think you can't, it's hard to address one thing without addressing the trauma as well. And that is one of the biggest things. Like I tell my clients all the time, if you are just, or even, you know, on social media, I talk about this a lot, is that if you're just trying to take a whole bunch of different supplements and see what helps, it's like throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks. It doesn't work, right? It's going to fall apart eventually. And what I find is that if you are trying to work on your health, you need to work on your mind as well. There is no one I've ever known that has had a perfect mindset, right? You always need help in this. And there's always going to be things that are probably underlying that if you take a can and you shake it up, let the dust settle, you can kind of sweep some things up and feel a little bit better.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being here with me today. This has been fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this incredible video. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit subscribe. Until next time, be well.